Good morning, Enoh. Thank you
morning.
so much for your time. I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to do this interview.
I'm really happy to do it.
And it's really an honor to be here.
I'm glad you are, and I hope you've enjoyed the summer here.
Thank you. So this segment of the blog is called 7 Minutes with an Executive, and it's focused on virtual mentorship coming from someone at an executive level. So our first question for our viewers are, would you be able to tell our viewers a bit about your role here at USTDA and your career and educational trajectory that led up to this position?
Certainly. So I'm the Deputy Director and the Chief Operating Officer of USTDA. What that means is that I'm responsible for the day-to-day running of the agency. So everything from acquisitions and procurement to our finances, to our administrative office and our human resources, and also to managing the folks on the program side who ensure that our mission is fulfilled and who develop all of the projects and activities to fulfill the mission. So it's a wonderful variety of work that I do, and I enjoy every day of it. How I got here, that's an interesting question. It's a little bit of a circuitous route, but I'll keep it short, bearing in mind that this is 7 minutes. So I actually, as you know, I'm a lawyer by profession, and came to this agency back in 2004 as an attorney advisor. And in that capacity, I worked both on the program side, representing the Sub-Saharan Africa region, but I also did a lot of administrative work as well. So was the lawyer that reviewed the agency's financial statements, did our EEO work, did some of our contracting work. So little did I know it at the time, but it prepared me really well for the work that I do today. So I spent from 2004 up through 2007 working as an attorney in the Office of General Counsel. At that point in 2007, I was detailed to act as the acting regional director for Sub-Saharan Africa for almost a year. Which was, again, unbeknownst to me, and I'm going to come back to that theme a little bit in this, turned out to be excellent training, again, for the job I do today. So I managed all of the programmatic portfolio for Sub-Saharan Africa for that time period, which was invaluable work in understanding how we build our projects. So after that, I went back to the Office of General Counsel in 2008, and pretty soon after that, a couple of years after that, became the Deputy General Counsel. I had a period of acting General Counsel and then became the General Counsel in 2012. I loved practicing as a lawyer and enjoyed that whole period immensely, and again, has been very instrumental in how I do my work as a Deputy Director. I skipped out in education a little bit, but just to briefly tell you about that, I did my undergraduate degree at the University of Edinburgh in history, and then came to the United States to do a master's degree in communication at the University of Pennsylvania. And then subsequently to that, with a little bit of work in between, went to law school at the University of Michigan. So it's been a little bit of a circuitous route, but I can tell you that every single thing that I've done, actually I pull upon every day and has made a lot of sense in the context of where I've ended up.
Sure. Why would you recommend a law student or a recent graduate to consider a career in international development?
Well, I think, first I will say, obviously the interest has to be there, right? It's going to be something that speaks to you, that you have an interest in. And then on top of that, I will say that legal, both training and practice and experience lend themselves very well to international development work. I say that, and I'll step back a bit and say to international work even generally, because there's so many different iterations of what you can do as a lawyer in this field. Everything from, World Trade Organization kind of work, accession to agreements on the one hand, or the kinds of issues that USTR deals with, or development work that we and other agencies do, or patents and trademarks and licensing and the international aspects of that. So I feel that someone with the interest who has excellent training in the law will find within the field of international work almost every conceivable kind of practice, and so that they're bound to find something that really speaks to them. I would just say that along the way, be open to the experiences that present themselves to you, even though they might not exactly seem to fit a path. It's what I've done, and when I talked about sort of circuitous routes, it's actually what has been, I think, so sort of invigorating about my legal experience is to be open and be willing to go in the directions that present themselves to you, always assuming that they're of interest. There has to be that interest. I think it's a fundamental sort of requirement. And then added to that, the skill, the hard work, the ability to learn, ask questions all the time, ask questions, it's the key thing. And with that, I think you can come to a very fulfilling career.
Oh. What's one of your favorite parts about USTDA?
USTDA, oh my goodness. So it's going to sound a bit cliche, but I have to say the people. So we are an agency of highly motivated people that are very engaged by and passionate about the mission. I think it's really important, and I keep coming back to having an interest. It's really important to be engaged by what you do. And from day one of coming to this agency, I was very engaged by our mission of helping to build infrastructure in developing and middle-income countries, and at the same time promoting US private sector engagement in such work. I thought that it was the perfect balance and a mission that one could not help but be engaged by, because you're doing good and you're doing well at the same time. It's wonderful to be in a place where everybody thinks in that way, and people are excited by it. You know, some of our best innovations in this agency come from our staff. And to have that happen means that the staff really care and are very focused on the mission. I have been quite spoiled by that. I think it's a tremendous environment to be in, and one that I would highly recommend that people strive to find. There's nothing like getting energy off of your colleagues. There's nothing like working in a collaborative environment where people care. People are focused on the work, but they also take the time to be mindful of the colleagues that they are working with. And to me, that is key, because it's very important to be able, I think, to enjoy what you do. And because we spend quite a lot of time working, it's important to be able to enjoy your colleagues. And I have to say that that is the number one, and whenever I'm asked often in interviews, and I come back to the people that make this place what it is.
What skill set do you rely on most here, and why?
Ooh, I would say actually both talking and listening, and probably I put the listening first. So in other words, communication. I think it's very important, it's key in fact, to be able to hear on many different levels, right? There's our clients, our partners that we work with overseas. There are, of course, our staff members. It's so critical, this ability to communicate clearly and both ways. So I would say that's number one. And because I'm a lawyer and always will be, I think the ability to analyze a situation or an issue and be able to come forward with potential resolution. And to be able to do that in a collaborative environment where you have a give and take and you're getting input from others, I think is very important. So yes, ultimately I may be responsible for decision making in various areas, but the ability to be able to engage with others, to get input, so that the best decisions can be made, I think is really, really important.
For those who are aspiring professionals and students in school who would like to have careers like yours, what sort of advice could you give them, especially those coming from smaller entities?
So I would say the most important thing obviously is to do well at school, first and foremost. Focus on the work, do well, do the things that you're interested in, that engage your imagination. I think be involved in your community, wherever that might be. I think that's really, really important because it brings a different kind of learning that is not necessarily in the academic sense, but it goes to making you who you are. So I would definitely, I would not be giving good advice if I didn't go into the academics, but then also be open as you are learning. So, I was not one of those students who knew very clearly exactly what I wanted to do. This might be clear from this interview. And I think that it is fantastic. I always envied my colleagues who knew exactly what they wanted to do. But I think for either camp, it's really important to be open to opportunities and to be able to talk to people. That whole notion, we hear it a lot, of networking or finding mentors. Talk to people who will be able to give you advice along the way. I think that's really important. So once you've done all that, at some point you're going to find yourself in a work environment, hopefully very pleasing to you, one that engages you. I think once you get into that environment, I think it's important to distinguish oneself by the quality of the work that you do, by your ability to ask questions and be responsive to all those around you, including, of course, whomever you are working with directly. But it's very important to be proactive once you get into the workplace and show that you can do the work that you want to learn, and that you're willing to put in whatever efforts need to be put in to be able to achieve the objective. And I think that in the end, when you show your interest by asking questions, by providing your work timely, by being willing to go the extra mile, if it should be necessary, that you will do well. It's certainly what I did all through my working life.
One of the unique qualities of a legal career is its malleability. What do you think is one of the areas of opportunity for young professionals, especially in the new workplace?
So I do think that, I would say two things. One, I'm struck by, it seems to me now, the variety of options that there are in terms of how you practice, or even whether you practice. Now, I'm a big proponent of practicing because, well, I love practice, and I think if you're going to law school, clearly there's an interest there. I also think that it prepares you to do anything. I really do. And so, I would say, number one, that the ability to practice in so many different kinds of areas, in so many different ways, whether it's at home or abroad, we're a lot more global than even we were when I graduated in '97. So I think take opportunities, and take advantage of those opportunities to do something that may seem a bit different, not the standard sort of approach, but again, if it engages you, take that leap and make the most that you can of that opportunity. So I would say look at what is the variety of possibilities. Now I will also say that there's the reality of law school loans. I experienced that, and in you know, when I finished law school, I went to work for a law firm, which I have to tell you, I still consider to this day the best training that I received. And so I think that in the end, each individual has to look at their own circumstance and situation and what makes sense, but make sure to look at everything that's out there. I would also say to law students, as I've done, that it doesn't, you know, you're not confined always to practice, that there are possibilities beyond that, and that though the practicing one way or another can lead to those.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you so much for this opportunity and your time.
Thank you
It's
so
been a real
much.
pleasure.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.